Welcome. Today is Friday, April 28th, 2023, and it is 12 noon. Thank you for joining me with Real Estate, Real Live, Real Talk. And I'm coming at you each and every Friday. Currently, I'm looking to my right because that's my Instagram. But I want to apologize for not being available last week due to allergies. I had lost my voice last week, so I was unavailable. And next week, I may or may not be available as well because I have a funeral to attend. But as always, let me hop into um, what I always do, and that is talk about real estate and what's going on in the wonderful world of real estate. Today, I'm going to be talking about conventional and FHA appraisal requirements along with eminent domain. And the reason why I'm touching basis on this is because recently, I had a few clients in which one was approved for a FHA loan, and the properties that she was looking at were a lot of foreclosed properties or properties that really needed work. And depending on which loan product you're using, there are certain guidelines and checklists that the appraiser has to go over in order to fully approve that loan to move forward so you can go to settlement when you're buying a property. So I just want to explain a few guideline rules when it pertains to loans and depending on which loan that you're actually using. For example, the FHA loan, which is the most common used loan, and the reason why it's the most common used loan is because it requires the least amount down at 3.5%. And it is a government loan. It is a federal housing administrator loan. And that FHA has an appraisal that must be met prior to going to settlement. And also, when the appraisal is to be met, there are certain guidelines that they have put in place for the safety of the potential buyer. For example, when a buyer goes to settlement with FHA loans, the appraiser is looking for the value of the property alongside making sure that the health and safety of the occupants are in place. So a lot of times when they're looking at properties, they're looking for peel paint, they're looking for broken windows, they're looking for mold, structural damages, they're looking at the roof. And the roof lifespan has to be more than 2 years in order for them to go forward. So a lot of times, because of those guidelines, when you're looking at certain properties, especially any property that needs work, and a lot of times we know that most property that needs work, they normally have two things that are common. One is they need paint. The other thing is they may need the carpet done. So when it pertains to that paint, a lot of times the appraisers are looking at that specifically because you can't have peeling paint. Otherwise, if it does, that will be brought up on the appraiser report. And when it's brought up on the appraiser report, that and any other issue that the FHA appraiser brings up must be addressed prior to going to settlement, or you can't go to settlement without clearing those things with the appraiser. And that is for the FHA loan. The conventional loan, which is also a very popular loan that is used. Now, what the conventional loan was mainly checked with the conventional loan is the true value of the property. The main thing that the appraisers are looking for with a conventional loan is just making sure that the value is in place, that they do not have any mold, the roof is not leaking. That's mainly what they're looking at. Now, over the years, the appraiser down payment used to be 10% with your first property. And many times, if you were buying a second property, they will require 20%. But over the years, there have been many lending institutions that have changed this. And there are some lending institutions nowadays where you can do a conventional loan for as little as 3%, which is less than the FHA down payment. A lot of times you always have to speak with the lender that you're dealing with to see what programs they have in place. But a lot of lenders nowadays are doing a minimum of 3%. Some of them are 5%. So in many cases, the conventional loan has become, the down payment has become less than with the FHA. And the guidelines with the conventional loan is much looser and doesn't have a strict guideline checklist like an FHA does. So whenever you get approved for a home loan, it is best to always tell your lender and realtor what it is that your goal is to do with the property. Because when you're looking at homes, for example, if you've been approved for a FHA loan and you're looking to purchase a foreclosed property, 9 times out of 10, that foreclosed property is going to require work. And because it's going to require work, it is not going to pass FHA guidelines when the appraisal is being done. If you use a conventional loan when you're purchasing a foreclosed property or a property that needs work, such as a short sale, you're much more likely just to, the appraiser is much more likely just to only check the value of that property. So a lot of things will not have to be taken care of prior to settlement. And the reason why I talk about these two things is because depending on where you purchase the property at, depending on the buyers and the seller, is going to determine who pays for the requirements to be taken care of, meaning the work to be done prior to going to settlement. So if you're dealing with a seller who's not going to give you anything, that's selling the property as is, that means the buyer is required to fix up the property prior to go to settlement. Some buyers don't like to do that. In some cases, some sellers will address certain issues if they come up as being major, like if there are mold issues, if there's a roofing condition. But many cases, some sellers don't even want to deal with that. They just want to sell their property. So you need to know which loan product is the best product for you. And that is also understanding the appraisal requirements that are involved once you do submit an offer, go through your home inspection, get the appraiser done, and then the appraiser's going and they're going to check these checklists. So again, if you plan on buying a property, you want to get a property that's relatively cheap, you'd rather fix it up yourself. A conventional loan may be better for you. A FHA is not, unless you do a FHA 203K. Now, the FHA 203K is a renovation rehab loan. Understand that, and this is how that works. Let's say hypothetically you buy a property that needs work. You have to do a FHA 203K loan. What ends up happening is you don't really need to do a home inspection, because you need to do a FHA. You need to have an FHA inspector come out, and they would assess the property, all the damages, all the issues, how much it's going to take for the repairs to be done on that property. Once they come up with an estimate, they take what the buyer into consideration, what the buyer wants into consideration. Once they take that into consideration, they will submit all that to the lender to see if financially you qualify for that. So let's say you bought a house at 300,000 and it requires 50,000 worth of work to be done. Your loan is going to be based on 350,000 with a FHA 203K, and your interest rate is going to be higher than the market value because you're financing that work to be done into the property. So you're buying the property at 300, you're financing the other 50,000 because of the repairs and renovation that has to be done with a FHA 203K loan. And with that being said, again, please always talk to the lender. Tell them what your goals are. Some people have different goals when it pertains to housing. Some people, when they buy a house, their goal is to buy a property and it's for them to live in. Some people want to buy a property to invest in. When they invest in, some people want to invest with doing rentals. Some people want to invest with trying to renovate and flip. Now, of course, if you do that, you have to a lot of times deal with cash and have, or deal with a hard money lender. And that's a whole nother topic right there. But depending on what you're doing, you have to please address that, because a lot of times with experienced lenders and experienced realtors, we can already foresee what's coming ahead and try to prevent the heartaches and headache for you as a buyer by educating you on the process, so that you won't go through the process and get stuck and then, get frustrated by what's going on. But a lot of times you have to explain what you're trying to do, because some people don't. They just want to buy a house, and then they see foreclosed property, they see this house, they see that house, and then they want this house because they got these goals in mind. But communication is the key. So please always explain that, so that way you have a full understanding about which loan product will be best for you. Now, I also want to talk about eminent domain. This question was brought up twice during the week. And because it was brought up twice during the week is the reason why I'm talking about it. A young lady called me. She's in D.C. And if any of you are familiar with D.C., we know D.C. is not a state. And when it pertains to real estate properties in DC, many people buy real estate in DC, and she was asking about can they just take her property because she has a house that was inherited to her from her mother that they own way when she was a little kid. I think she's in her 50s now. So that means she's had the property for a long time. So she was like, she's never going to sell the property, but she was holding a conversation with a male friend, and they were talking about a lot of the constructions that's going on in the city. And they were talking about a lot of people who have moved out of the city and a lot of things that have taken place as far as constructions and developments that have occurred, over time. So she was asking me, can they take her property? First of all, in DC, when you are a homeowner, you own the property, but you do not own the land in DC. In Maryland, you own the property and the land. In Virginia, you own the property and the land. In DC, you own the property. You do not own the land in DC. Okay. And then there's a thing called eminent domain. An eminent domain is basically when the government can take the property from the homeowner for the use of the public. And they condemn what the use of the public is for. For example, if they feel like, okay, the area where a house is, we want to put a school up here, or if we want to put a Walmart up here, they feel like that is for the public. In many cases, they will try to buy a homeowner out first, but you have some homeowners who refuse to move. Over there by Howard University on Sherman Avenue, my family used to live right there on Sherman Avenue. But they ended up buying people out. People didn't want to move, but because Howard University is a university which is for public use, they implemented eminent domain, and they still gave them some money. So what I'm saying to you is, depending on where you are, if developers try to come and buy your property, because that's what they try to do first. But you have to understand that a lot of these developers, they have side deals with people in the government all over the place. The government is not perfect. The government is not necessarily always looking out for the best interest of the public or the people, but mainly for their pockets. So please keep that into consideration, depending on where your property is. Eminent domain applies. And again, if they, the government comes and everything, again, there's going to always try to buy you out first. But if they don't buy you out, just know that those developers have gone to someone in the government to get that land for whatever reason. And if they turn around and say, oh, yeah, we're going to put a school here, a Walmart, or a community center, then that is basically what that is for. So I just want you all to definitely understand that particular part right there. Now, my topic of the week is idiotic drivers. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Okay, so let me talk about idiotic drivers. Now, we're all out there on the road. We all see people driving. We basically, get irritated. There's road rage, there's aggressive driving and stuff. And then there's idiotic drivers. I want to talk about them for a second because of the fact is there are many people who will speed up to cut in front of you only to put their brakes on. There are people who will purposely drive slow and look in their rearview mirror instead of looking at the road just to irritate you. And what you have to understand is there's a lot of miserable people in the world, and you can see it even in driving. But I just want you all to have patience, be calm, and to always understand that the people in the car, they may be going through some personal thing. And just say this to yourself, like they don't know any better, because a lot of them don't. Honestly, I don't know how more than half the people out here driving have gotten their driver's license. And I still question, like, when I was younger, cereal boxes used to have these little fake driver's license, like in the Fruit Loops and all that. I'm thinking they got their driver's license out of a cereal box, because the way people drive, they don't know how to merge. And depending on where you at, people won't let you over if they know you about the merge. You know what I'm saying? You put your signal on, people don't let you over. People don't put their signals on, even if they're about to make a left turn, as if the person behind them know what they're about to do. I mean, I don't think people understand that signals were created for the safety of you, the driver, and the other driver. For example, if the way people drive by being on the tail of people, if you're about to make a left turn and you don't put your signal on, that person gonna hit you. And I know people always say, oh yeah, they're being wrong, I'll just sue them. But here's the thing, you can't sue somebody if you're dead, because if somebody crash you hard enough, you can die. And then on top of that, it ain't even worth it a lot of time. If you lose the stability as far as walking, if you're injured for the rest of your life, it's not even worth it. So a lot of times, some things we can prevent ourselves, but a lot of times we don't. So I say this to say that when you're out there driving and you see all these idiotic drivers, just know they don't know better, because there are some people who are out here purposely miserable, purposely out here to make your day worse. I recall one time I was driving, I believe it was on BW Parkway, and traffic was a little backed up and the car was going slow, but it was like about a tractor trailer space in front of the car that was in front of me. So when the ramp came, I went around the ramp. The lady in the car threw her hand up as if, you know what I'm saying, like she was mad because I went around her. And I'm just saying, why do you even care that I went around you when you already driving slow on purpose? So you have to use common sense, because there are a lot of people out here driving who don't have common sense. You have to use your skills. Please use your signals and understand that you're dealing with a lot of people out here who just can't drive. They can't drive. You understand? You see it. They don't know how to merge. They don't know how to turn. They either drive too slow or they drive too fast. You know, they doing stuff. Because I see people. I saw a person the other day jump 3 lanes over, was on my left side a little bit in front of me, and just jumped 3 lanes over to get on the other exit. And then when I looked at them, they were messing with their phone. And that's another thing. People are too much on their phone, strolling or texting or whatever they're doing, and they're not paying attention. You have to pay attention, because if you don't pay attention, it's going to affect you more than it affects them. They'll hit your car and they'll keep driving, because there's a lot of people out here driving without insurance too. And then you also have to pay attention to the cars that people are riding in, because I saw one car, it was dinged up all along the side of it and everything, and it was driving reckless, and it was trying to be aggressive with me. And at first I was being a little aggressive, then I backed off, because I looked at the car and I said, oh, they obviously don't care about themselves nor that car, because the car was tore up from the floor up. So all the thing I'm saying is, you have to be cautious when you're out here driving, because there's too many idiotic drivers out here on the road. They're driving reckless. Some of them driving with suspended license or no license at all. Some of them are driving with no insurance, because I recall my daughter was in a car accident. Was it earlier this year? I think. I put it on my story. But long story short, we found out later on the guy who hit her didn't have any insurance. So there are people driving without insurance, driving without license, driving reckless, driving stupid, driving without common sense. This is why I call them idiotic drivers. You see what I'm saying? You see where I'm going with this? There are a lot of idiotic drivers out here who do not know how to drive. They don't know how to drive. Just because they in a car and everything don't mean they know how to drive. They don't. I'm sorry. You know, I mean, and I don't even understand how they got their license. And to be truthful, a lot of people need to go to school again to take the whole test, because here's the thing that gets me. When people are taking their driving test in front of the driving instructor, they put their signals on, you know what I'm saying? But when they behind that road, they never put that signal on. You don't know if they turning left, right, or whatever. They cut in front of you. Then, even when it's raining, they do the same thing. And they don't know if you got good brakes. What if your brakes are bad? What if you had to go take your car to the shop to get your brakes fixed, and they just cut in front of you and slam on their brakes? People, be mindful of who's out here, who's driving, because of the fact is there are a lot of stupid drivers out here. And I just say that to say that because there's so many stupid drivers out here, I call them idiotic drivers. You all can call them whatever you want. I just know that these people will cause you to lose your religion. They will cause you to lose your mind, your sanity, and everything. And I'm not going to lie. I've been to the point where, you know what I'm saying, I threw a water bottle out the window a few times. I'm not saying it was right, But I was that frustrated and irritated. Then I had to think about my behavior and stuff. But then, sometimes people will take you there when it pertains to you driving. So I say that to say, please, please, please be aware of the idiotic drivers, the ones who don't put signals on, the ones who drive too slow, who drive too fast, the ones who want to ride on your bumper of your tail, not knowing if you got insurance, not knowing if you're going to slam on your brake as if they're trying to push you out the way. Be aware of all these people when you're out there driving, because a lot of them lack common sense. And then sometimes I find out some of the ones who do that, like drive on the back of your tail and stuff like that, when they get out the car, they standing 4 feet 2 inches. You understand? Sure. So you got to understand, some people driving around here with a Napoleon complex. So they want to feel big and aggressive in their car. So, you know what I'm saying? Some of them get big cars or big trucks or fast cars or whatever and everything. And then they want to go out there and stuff like they did, like they that person, like they like that. But a lot of times they compensating for something. So, and a lot of times people are not working with a full deck up here. So that's why I say you have to be mentally smart and use common sense when you're dealing with these people. Just think that those people are miserable. Those people don't know what they're doing and stuff. And then on top of that, you're for safety reasons, because we've seen all too many times out here when people are driving that people pulling out guns, shooting people for no apparent reason, because of anger. So, it's a lot of aggression going on here on the road. So please be safety and please be mindful when you're out there on the road driving, because it's not worth it. You know what I'm saying? You're just trying to get to your destination when you're in your car. It's not worth it when you're on the road and people are acting a fool. It's not worth it. So please take the time to be smart enough to know that you're just trying to get to your destination, enjoy your life and everything. Please use common sense, because there are a lot of idiotic drivers out here. So I wanted to talk about that. So I'm going to do a quick recap. Okay, my recap today is about conventional and FHA appraisal requirements. Please understand that depending on what you're going to do with the home when you're buying it, and depending on which loan product you use, is going to determine a lot. And a lot of times when you deal with a lot of houses such as I have, we can foresee what's coming down the road. So sharing what your home requirement is going to give the insight so we can give the knowledge back to you as far as which loan product will be best for you. The FHA requirement is a lot longer than the conventional requirements. The FHA requirements is a lot stricter too. So again, you need to keep that into consideration. So if you're looking to get a fixer upper, unless you're using the FHA 203K, a conventional will be the best, because the conventional only goes by the value of the home. So take that into consideration. And eminent domain is when the government can come and seize your property for the use of the public. But they don't just come around taking people's property. So understand that. So even in DC, where a lot of houses are being sold and a lot of redevelopment are being done, they're not just doing that. A lot of times, some people are being bought out because they see the money and they think the money is good for them. So they do what they feel is best for them and their family. But just know, depending on where you are, because like I mentioned before, in DC, you own the property, not the land. In Maryland and Virginia, you own the land and the property. And again, I just mentioned about idiotic drivers. Be safe out there, because there are a lot of people who don't have no good driving skills at all. You can tell they don't have it, and they lack common sense. And there are a lot of fools out here driving, you know what I'm saying, like being aggressive. So just use common sense when you're out there driving to make sure that your safety is in place, and then make sure that you're looked after. So I want to thank each and every one of you all for coming with me. Again, I won't be here next Friday, but I will be here the following Friday. And last Friday I wasn't here because I had lost my voice, but I have my voice back. I appreciate you all. I want to thank you again for always coming each and every Friday, where I talk about real estate, real life, real talk, and real live with Damon, the agent. I'll see you all soon.